morning, Steve here from theturtlefollower.com with your stock market outlook video for the weekend of Saturday, May 16th, 2015. Hope you guys had a great week. Market's really looking like they're getting ready to explode higher. Sure enough, on Friday, we had a little bit of a move higher, but it wasn't that real follow through that we were looking for. But in the same respect, we also weren't down 100 points after breaking out. So if you look here at the S&P 500 futures, you can see we've talked about this endlessly for the past month to 2 months about this potential breakout from this area over 2100. On the weekly chart here, you can see that we have been trending higher really until the end of November, where we just really started going sideways and going sideways between that 2120 area and 1961. And then zooming in here on the daily chart, you can see that same area highlight, but now we also have the potential for a little bit of a higher base, higher breakout here, which is really encouraging to see. You can see a couple times we've tried to break down below 2075 and we were taken immediately higher. So now looking at the S&P 500, we pretty much got the small breakout we were looking for, right? I would expect this week to see some continued move higher. I think we have risk is to the upside at this point. I definitely think that we would continue higher, maybe for a couple days, come back, maybe even test this 2110 area and then move higher. But for right now, S&P 500, I say we're full steam ahead here. Definitely looking, if this was a stock, if you were trading the SPY for argument's sake, and you didn't know it was the SPY. Let's remove these drawings real quick. You would basically say, here's your larger consolidation, here's your smaller base consolidation, and here's your uptrend. I mean, it works the same way. It doesn't matter that it's the SPY or whatever. So you're essentially looking at this as saying, you know what, over 21 or 210, 212, I want to get long this, and that's exactly what would happen. Your stop would be down here. So that's definitely a viable trade if that was something that you were looking for. Looking at just buying the SPY, it's a perfectly fine trade. And again, your stop would be down here 207. So as far as the futures go, no different story there. I just think it's full steam ahead for the S&P futures. All right, same setup right there. Now the Nasdaq futures, these were a little bit of a laggard the past couple weeks, but this week picked up some steam. You could see we bounced right off of trendline support, which is great to see. We did close a little lower on Friday after we hit the same level right around 4,500. But again, nice little pullback and potentially looking for a break over 45. Let's call it 45.50. All right, now the Nasdaq is higher in its range than the S&P is, so this one may just want to chop around sideways for a while. The S&P, I would say, absolutely goes higher. This one, if it went sideways and filled in to this trend line, I would think that's probably just fine for this week. The Dow, similar to the S&P, breaking out. You can see we broke out over 18,100, followed through, and we said our next resistance point will be right around here at 18,250. Now this week we pretty much got to that area. You can see the high was 18,250 exactly was the high in the Dow futures. So again, looking for some continued move higher, but wouldn't be surprised to see the Dow kind of just hang out for a little bit in between 18,250 and 18,100. Over 18,250, again, similar to the S&P, I think it's full steam ahead. And the final one, the Russell. All right, Russell was the laggard. You could see almost what's happening here in the Russell is almost looks like maybe a little bit of a reversal signal where we had this uptrend intact. Now we have a consolidation to the downside, and maybe what may happen here is people may be rotating out of these small caps and into the larger caps, because the larger cap indices look much better. So we'll see how this reacts. Russell, if we can get back to 12,600, or not 12,000. It's early for me, guys. I'm sorry. 1,264. Then you know what? We have a shot of breaking out. But until we break above this 50-day moving average and break this little downtrend line, I would say right now we're kind of sideways to down is the play here in the Russell. All right, I wouldn't think I wouldn't think that this is one that's gonna in 3 days be over and breaking out to new highs. So this one could be a little bit of a weight on us, but you can see here on the weekly chart what's happened. All right, if we zoom into this area, we've talked about this huge consolidation, and then we've talked about this again higher base, just like we were looking at in the S&P, came up, and now look, what are we doing? We're coming back and testing that 1200 area. All right, that was the low right here, 1200. So let's see how this reacts. The other potential is a head and shoulders pattern, where you have your left shoulder, your head, and building your right shoulder. And then again, there's a lot of different scenarios for this, but I would say out of the 4 major indices we talk about, the RUT and the Russell are probably the weakest of them all, and maybe even potentially signaling some downside follow through. So see how this reacts. Again, your two points of reference are the 50-day moving average and this 1200 level. We start breaking down under 1200, then this trend line is intact, and you're putting in a bit of a downtrend, in the futures, and probably taking us lower in the Russell. And if we were to break down, I would say your first stop will probably be here around 1195, and then your next one's probably not until 1150. So I don't think we get there, but hey, crazier things have happened. So for right now, just understand that this is looking like a potential reversal signal. So in order of rank, I would say S&P, Dow, Nasdaq, and Russell. And that's what I'm looking at for this week. So that's it for today. Any questions or comments, please leave them below.